Thank you for joining us. Welcome to LumioseStation.
What's up, LumioseStation, and welcome back to another episode of the Pokémon DataDex with me, TheOneIntegral. So last week we covered a sort of a complacent Mega Evolution, Mega or Dino. So this week I'm going to cover another, what I would call a hyper-offensive Mega Evolution, and this time it's Gallade, one of the two hyper-offensive Mega Evolutions introduced in Oras, the other one being Lopunny, which I've already covered. I mean, I'm calling them the only ones, but there might be one or two others, but it's just what I it's what I think. When I think of a hyper-offensive Mega Evolution, Gallade and Mega Lopunny are the ones that come to mind first. So, this week we're covering Gallade and Mega Gallade. I will be covering a couple more Mega Evolutions in the coming weeks. We have a couple left, I think, so be sure to suggest which ones you want to see down below in the comments section. But for now, let's get on and start covering Gallade. Gallade is number 475 in the National Pokédex, is the Blade Pokemon, and is a Psychic Fighting type. It stands at 5 foot 3 inches or 1.6 meters tall, and weighs 114.6 pounds or 52 kilograms. It's in the Amorphous Egg group, which doesn't really make much sense for Gallade, but it sort of stems more from its previous evolutions and the alternate end of its evolution chain, and is 100% male, so you cannot get a female Gallade. Then we're looking at the evolution chain. We have at level 20, Ralts will evolve into Curlier, and then Curlier can only evolve into Gallade if it's a male and has a Dawnstone used on it. So this is where the 100% male comes from, because only male Curlier can evolve into Gallade. But make sure to do it before level 30, because at level 30 the Curlier will evolve into Gardevoir, regardless of the gender, of course, unless you stop it. So be sure to evolve your Gallade or your Curlier to a Gallade fairly early on. I mean, you can keep it on for as much as you want, but fairly early evolution is pretty good for it. Base stat wise for Gallade, we can see its highest stat is attack at 125, then its special defense at 115, and that goes on down to speed at 80, and then it has health points 68, and then its last two defense and special attack bringing up the rear at 65. So Gallade is certainly not a special attacker, it's a physical attacker. Please don't use a special Gallade, that'd be weird. And its physical attack is pretty darn high already, it's 125. The only thing that lets it down slightly is its speed stat, since it is only 80, which isn't amazingly brilliant, and its defenses, or at least its physical defense, isn't that high, so you are sort of, at risk of being taken out fairly easy. Then, ability-wise, we have two here, one basic ability and the hidden ability. Basic ability is Steadfast, which boosts Gallade's speed stat every time it flinches, and its hidden ability is Justified, which boosts its attack stat when it's hit by a dark type move. In terms of which one's better out of these two, I say it's probably Steadfast, because as I mentioned already, its speed is lacking, so obviously if something outspeeds you, it can have a good pop shot on you and maybe even take you out before you can get an attack off. So Steadfast, bringing up the speed stat, is going to help. I mean, you have to flinch for it, but Justified, you have to be hit by a dark type move, so it's you could run Justified rather, and try and switch on a dark type move, or you could just hope for whenever the time comes when you do flinch, maybe from a fake out or whatever, that actually helps you out. So rather than just flinching and losing a turn, you do get some sort of boost from it. So I would recommend Steadfast, but you can try out Justified if you want. Typing wise, being a Psychic Fighting typing, there's not really that many resistances and weaknesses for Gallade. It resists two types, which are Fighting and Rock, and is weak to three, which are Flying, Ghost and Fairy. So it has more weaknesses than resistances, but the main point is it hasn't got many resistances in the first place, so it's going to take neutral from a hell of a lot of types. As you can see, all of the types apart from the 5 we've already listed. So really, Gallade's not a very defensive Pokemon, so again, that's why you might want to run Steadfast to bring up that speed stat, just so you're not taking a load of hits, for example. If we take a look at the highlighted moves for Gallade, first up we have at level 31 in X and Y, or level 26 in Oras, or via TM75 we have Swords Dance, which pretty much doubles or raises Gallade's attack stat by 2 stages, which is really quite powerful, and especially with that 125 attack stat or even higher for Mega Gallade, you are going to do a lot of damage if you manage to get a Swords Dance up, so it's certainly worth trying to get one up at least. Then at level 36 or 31, you can learn Psycho Cut, which is a pretty powerful Psycho type move. There is going to be another one we look at in a minute, and I'll talk more about the differences between them when we get there, but Psycho Cut is a reasonably decent move, I quite like it. Then level 59 or 53 in Auras, we have Close Combat, which is a very powerful fighting type move. However, it's going to lower your defenses, which is the reason you might not want to use it. So it's up to you whether you run Close Combat or the other fighting type move, which I'm going to look at a bit later on. So then after that we have, moving on to the TMs, TM12 Taunt, which basically makes the enemy attack you, which is, I mean, yeah, it's not brilliant necessarily for Gallade, but it can be used if you're going to use it as sort of a lead. You can taunt the opponent so they can't set up any stealth rocks, you can taunt them so they can't set up on you can taunt them so they can't protect, for example. And considering your special defense is fairly high, if you are facing against a special attacker, using Taunt might be a good idea, especially if it's something like Reuniclus, which might not have anything against you necessarily in terms of effectiveness. It might be a good idea to do it there. Against physical attackers, probably not the best idea to use Taunt though. Then TM80 is Rock Slide. Now, you could run Stone Edge, which I haven't got listed here, but you could run it. Stone Edge has more damage, but it misses more often, so really again you're trading power for accuracy here. Rock Slide I've got listed here because it's a good coverage move. It can take out flying types, which obviously you're weak to, so it's always good to have, you know, something good against your weaknesses, basically. In terms of what other things, you know, ice maybe, but you've got fighting type moves. But Rock Slide's generally good because obviously, you know, coverage against fire types, example, you get the idea, guys. It's a good coverage move to have. And then, for TM90, we have Substitute, which is going to put a Substitute up, lose some of your health, but then obviously the Substitute is going to take damage for you. Now this is done in link with the next move we're going to look at, which is Drain Punch, which is via Tutor in Auras, and obviously it's the other fighting type move I'm talking about. Because if you get a sub up, and the sub stays up, and you use Drain Punch, you can heal up behind the sub. So then, say your sub goes down, but then you've still got, you know, more health points, basically. Which is quite good, so you can heal up behind the Substitute and use Substitute again when you guys get the idea there. So Drain Punch is quite helpful for there, so I'd recommend only using Substitute if you have Drain Punch, because otherwise you've got no health point restoration behind the Substitute, so really there's no point. Then another tutor move we have here is Ice Punch. Ice Punch is good coverage, again obviously it covers flying types rather, because you're weak to them, so that's a good thing there, but Ice Punch is generally good coverage anyway. For example, Gliscor, which would pretty much just completely wall you up because it's an ice flying type, it's a ground flying type. Your flying type moves are going to be resisted, and you know it's a defensive tank as well. Ice Punch is still going to do a decent amount of damage, even with that defensive tank. Ice Punch can still bop it out, so really it's a good count for that. Then another tutor move for Auras, we have Knockoff. Knockoff is, obviously, as you guys will know, got a boost in Generation 6, meaning that it can do a lot of damage, and of course knock off the enemy's item. That can be quite good because it, you know, stops certain setups. So, you know, if you've got a tank that's got leftovers, you can knock those leftovers off, and there goes the tank. You know, you just have to whittle its health points down slowly, and there's not much it can do. So Knockoff is certainly a good move, a good viable move to use. Then finally, the last tutor move we have is Zen Headbutt, the alternate move to Psycho Cut. Zen Headbutt does slightly more damage, but it has a lower accuracy. So you can choose Psycho Cut for the lower damage, higher accuracy, and it has a crit chance. Or you can go for Zen Headbutt, which has higher damage, lower accuracy, and it has a chance to flinch instead. So it's up to you which one you want to go for there. You can go for power, or you can go for accuracy, basically. They both have different effects. So it's up to you. You can try them out and see which one works best for you. Then, if we take a look at Mega Gallade, obviously the big focus of this video, the Hyper Offensive Mega Evolution, as I've said. It's the same typing as a normal Gallade, so Psychic Fighting, and it stands the same height, 5 foot 3 inches or 1.6 meters. It gets a bit heavier, however, obviously that cape weighs a bit, so it now goes up to 124.3 pounds or 56.4 kilograms. The Gallade can be received from Professor Cosmo in Infallible Town after you've completed the Delta episode, so you can't get it after the Sutopolis event. You have to go all the way through the whole game pretty much, and then if you go speak to Professor Cosmo, he'll talk about how he's found this Gallade, or well, stone or whatever he calls it, and he'll give it to you. So that's how you receive your Mega Stone for Gallade. Then, obviously, as I mentioned there, Gallade obviously Mega evolves into Mega Gallade using the Galladite, and it gains a cool cape, and its blades on its arms get a bit bigger. That's basically it for Mega Gallade. There's not a huge amount of change on its design. Then if we look at the base stats for Mega Gallade, which is a real focus here, health points stay the same as health points always does for Mega Evolution. Its attack gets a boost of 40, I believe, to 165, which makes it really quite high. Its defense gets a slight boost as well, up to 95 as well. Special attack stays the same at 65, not that we're too bothered about that. Special defense stays the same as well at 115, and then the speed also gets a bit of a boost as well, and goes up to 110 as well, making it a bit faster. So Mega Gallade sort of solves the problem with the speed for Gallade, but of course you could always be a bit faster, you're still going to be outsped by some things. ability then for Mega Gallade is Inner Focus, which isn't brilliant, but it does protect you from flinching. So basically it allows you to counter Mega Lopunny, because if you've got Mega Lopunny with a fake out, if they fake you out, you're going to take some damage, but you're not going to get flinched, so you can hit back with a close combat, and that Mega Lopunny is gone. So really, it can help you out countering in some. I'm not saying that Gallade is always going to win against Lopunny in a 1v1, but in terms of if they got fake out, you're not going to flinch with it, so Inner Focus is going to help you out there. It's not going to be an amazingly helpful ability, but every now and then it is going to bring you that help, and that is going to change the term of the battle, basically. If we look at the Wi-Fi battling setups now for Gallade and Mega Gallade, I've only got one listed here because there's not really a huge spectrum in which Gallade has got used, and I just sort of combined the two, the normal Gallade setup and the Mega Gallade setup, because there really is no difference. You use Gallade the same in both scenarios, and then the other one's just more powerful than the other, basically. So the moveset here is going to be Swords Dance, then Close Combat or Drain Punch, and after that Knockoff or Zen Headbutt, and finally Zen Headbutt or Substitute or Taunt. The ability is going to be Steadfast, the nature is Jolly, the held item then is a Galladite or a Choice Band, and the EVs are going to put maximum attack, maximum speed, and the rest in defense. So first up, looking at the moveset, Swords Dance is what you want to try and get off as soon as possible. First off in the battle, get Swords Dance up and you're pretty much set, because that's going to give you pretty much double your attack the first time you use it, and that's going to be powerful. The choice of Close Combat or Drain Punch is up to you. If you're going to go for a bit more of a conservative approach with Gallade, go for Drain Punch because you can get your health back. But if you want to go in and just deal all the power, go for Close Combat because it's much more powerful, but it is going to lower your defenses. Then after that we have Knockoff or Zen Headbutt. So Knockoff is useful for, as I said earlier, removing some items, whereas Zen Headbutt is another stab for you, which is going to give you some more coverage against poison types, which obviously Close Combat and Drain Punch aren't going to deal with. But it's up to you. You could also run Ice Punch or Rock Slide in this slot because they are also viable moves. It's just up to you what coverage you want. Finally we have obviously Zen Headbutt, so you could have Knockoff and Zen Headbutt on the same sort of slide, or you can have Psycho Cut indeed, because you could switch them out for some more accuracy. But you have Zen Headbutt there. If you're using Drain Punch, put a substitute on here, and the final one is Taunt if you're using Gallade as a lead, just to taunt out some annoying stealth rockers and whatnot. Ability I've chosen Steadfast because I feel like the speed boost is more beneficial than a attack boost, especially because the attack boost is only if it's a dark type move, which aren't that common against a Gallade at least. Nature though is Jolly, to give you that extra speed, because that's really what you need for Gallade. You could run Animate, but then again you're going to come into more tricky situations where you're not as fast as if you were Jolly, and you may lose the battle because of that. Held item, Galladite if you're using Mega Gallade, or Choice Band is probably a better option. In this case, don't have Swords Dance in the first slot, please. Run instead like Close Combat, so Knockoff, Zen Headbutt and Ice Punch for example. Don't run Swords Dance there, and I've just generalised the set, so please don't run Swords Dance Choice Band, that'd be a bit weird. EV is obviously maximum attack and speed, just so you get the most damage, the fastest you can be, and the rest in defense, just to try and bring that defense up a bit, because as we know it's the lowest, just to boost the defense up a little, just to try and give you some more physical defense. But that's, there's not much, as I said earlier, come in, use a Sword Dance if you can, and then start dealing the damage out. If you're using the Choice Band set, switch out if you need to. For example, if you use Drain Punch or Close Combat and they switch a Ghost type in, you got to switch out. Don't stay in if it's a bit of a weak case, I guess. But generally that's how you use Gallade and Mega Gallade. You go in, you Swords Dance, boom, done. And I guess that's it for Mega Gallade in general, guys. As I said at the start, please be sure to suggest some more Mega Evolutions for me to cover in the next few weeks. But for now, this is going to be it for me for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.